What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the Hobbyist Miner channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about this nightmare rig. Okay guys, I'd like to introduce you to my Juggernaut rig. This is a 12 GPU NVIDIA mining rig that I built very early on in my mining journey, and I have learned so much what not to do when going ahead and planning out a rig. But let's introduce this one and I'll tell you my problem. So this rig here is a 12 GPU NVIDIA rig. We have a Zotac 1080, we have an NVIDIA Geforce GTX 1080, a PNY 1080, a 1060, 6 gig. We have two actually of the 1660 Ti's, and then we have an ASUS 1060 6 gig, a Gigabyte, 𝐓𝐸𝐲, and 𝐓𝐸𝐲 Mini 1060 6 gig. These are all being worked off of and supported by a 750 watt ATX power supply, a 1200 watt HP power supply, a GPUrisers.com solid state drive, and we have the famous H110 Pro BTC mining motherboard. So what's the issue with this rig? This rig is a nightmare, and I think everybody's got one. Comment down below, let me know. Do you guys have a nightmare rig? A rig that just is always a problem child, always has problems, constantly has issues? That's this guy for me. So in today's video, we're gonna deal with it. So what are we gonna do? So this one is a nightmare for me because of the fact that I constantly have issues. So I have these 6 1060s and also this 1060 on its own individual miner, T-Rex miner, and we're memory tweaking with a setting of 1. I then have the 1080s as well as the two 1660 Ti's on their own separate miner. MB miner is actually what we're running on this. And I constantly have issues where cards just aren't mining. They just randomly stop mining. They're in 𝐓𝐸, but they just decide not to mine. I constantly have issues where the watchdog just doesn't reboot the rig, or doesn't see the power usage isn't in use and doesn't reboot the rig, or doesn't reboot the miner. And it has been a nightmare. I've gotten to the point where I literally end up having a scheduled job in 𝐓𝐸 to reboot this rig every hour just to keep all of the GPUs mining. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go ahead and jump into a build today. We are going to take our 6 1060s as well as our 1 1060 up here, and we're gonna remove them from this rig. And we're gonna build an entire rig dedicated to the 1060s, putting them on its own setup, on its own miner. And I truly believe between the 1060s being pulled out and allowing these to go ahead and run on their own, that this rig will, what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 GPUs on their own. We'll end up moving them into another rig in the near future, but today we're gonna go ahead and build ourselves a 7 GPU 1060 mining rig. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our cards. So we do have our 1, 2, 3, 4. Now these are the 𝐓𝐸 Geforce GTX 1060 6 gig cards. These things work great. I've had great luck with them. I mean, hey, I bought them cheap and they're still mining Ethereum, so they do the job. We then have a Gigabyte 1060. This is gonna be the one we're gonna work on today. I'll show you a few things after this. We have our ASUS, we got our white 1060, and finally the 𝐓𝐸 Geforce GTX 1060 6 gig. So what we're gonna do while we have these cards out and available to us now is we wanna do a little maintenance on them. So we are gonna go ahead first and we're gonna take our X-Power. This is pretty much just a blower tool is what they call it. And we're gonna go ahead and take these outside and blow these out. After we go ahead and blow them out, I'm gonna set the camera up overhead, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean all of these as well as replace their thermal paste and thermal pads. But today I'm just going to show you guys on camera, I'll do the rest of them off camera, the Gigabyte. Of course, right? The Gigabyte, replace the pads. We'll definitely go ahead and take care of that. But special thanks to these guys. Check these out, guys. Critical thermal pads. This team reached out to me, sent these out to me and said, hey, you know, go ahead and test these out. Let us know your thoughts and feelings. The one thing so far, I haven't even tested them yet, so don't go jumping and buying them quite yet. But the one thing I do really love about this is the first brand I've seen out there, and go ahead and check them out. I'll put a link down below here, right at the bottom. It shows you guys their website. On their website, you can go on their website, select your graphics card, and then it tells you the exact thermal pads that you need. as well as the size that you need, and it has them all ready to go for you. And then you can you know, cut and everything, and then you buy them and bam, put them on and you're good to go. So that's a nice thing that I haven't seen from any other thermal pad brand out there yet, is that they've started to build a library built into their store for thermal pads and matched with the graphics card. So I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know I was that exact way as a new miner. I was like, all right, I got these cards. I don't know what size thermal pad to put on them. So go ahead and check them out. I'll put a link down below here. Critical, go ahead and check out their brand. Pretty sweet stuff. So let me get these blown out, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this guy cleaned up, and we'll dive into taking this thing apart. So all of our cards we blew out completely with our 𝐓𝐴𝐺 electric blower there, and now we're gonna go ahead and open this up, take a look, get it cleaned up the best we can with what we have, and then we'll put some new thermal pads on this guy. So I don't know what thermal pads that these use, so I am going to be using a digital caliber today. These things are awesome. I really love them. They're super cheap. I think this one was like 15 bucks or something like that off of Amazon. I'll put a link down below if you guys are interested. These are fantastic. But as I said, if you don't want to go the route of buying one of these and you just want the exact size thermal pad that you're looking for, go ahead and check these guys out. Once again, they have them listed on their website, and we'll see what we got here. So let's get this opened up real quick. Okay, let's crack this sucker open here. Oh, there we go. Not too bad. This has been replaced once before since I did buy this card, so it's not like this has been sitting around for years and years and years. But we can see there's a lot of oil. What else is new with these cards? Let me go ahead and zoom in here a little bit for you guys. Whoop. There we go. So we can see there's actually a decent amount of oil sitting right here, which comes off of the thermal pad. So a great opportunity to go ahead and replace these here. And then I'm probably going to put another thermal pad right here down the rest of these here. So I always like to go ahead and remove the shroud fan to make it easier to work with. But these guys right here break off so easily. So I always do recommend that you guys find an avenue to hold the actual fan, the female side in place. You know, find a way to really hold this, to hold it down, because you can literally rip it right off. I've done it on an R9 I've ripped this off, and it actually has ripped right off, like right off of the board. And yeah, you can't fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to, let me turn this around here. Sorry, get you guys a little better lighting the best we can. And I'm going to hold it in place, and then I'm just going to wiggle it, and bam, there we go. Nice and easy. So we're going to come back to this guy here, and this is what we're going to go ahead and get cleaned up. So let me get to work and douse this guy in rubbing alcohol, get it all cleaned up, and then we'll stop back. Okay, so while we wait for our board to dry, let's go ahead here. We want to clean off the heat sink here, as well as go ahead and measure the thickness of this pad, as I don't know it right now. So let's go ahead and peel this off. We don't want to destroy it entirely. Oh man, it's so oily. Ugh. I am actually really glad we got to this before it ended up like making an entire mess. So we're going to go ahead and zero out our digital caliber here. We're going to, yep, we're good. We're going to open it up. We're going to slide it in here. Come on. And there we go. We're going to come down, and there we go. We are at 1.0. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to trash this guy now that we know what's going on. And we have a few different ones here from Critical. The 0.5 millimeter, 0.75, and there's our 1 millimeter. We also have 1.5. So we're going to go ahead and open these suckers up. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but check that out. There's actually like this really cool texture to that. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead, we'll put this to the side. We're going to cut it in a minute once our board is completely dried off. And we are going to get this guy all cleaned up. Okay, so this is all clean, good to go. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to actually putting our thermal pad on here. And we talked about it being a 1mm thermal pad, which is great. So we have those here. We have our Paladin scissors here as well. And we are going to want to cover this area here, and then I'm going to put one down here. And one could even argue to put them along here as well, based off of the way that this is designed. But there wasn't any on here, and I didn't have any crazy cooling issues with this card at this point. Surprising, Gigabyte, right? So I'm going to leave these uncovered for now, but I'm going to cover these two and also those modules too. So we have our thermal pads here, which is awesome. Looks like we have to cut these to open these up. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and do that. These are Paladin scissors. Not sure if you guys have those, but they are crazy sharp. Use those for networking, and they work awesome. So here we go. Woo, fancy. Let's put that aside. Look at these guys. Very nice. So this side here actually has that texture to it that I spoke about. Trying to see if I can get that on camera or not. But the other side actually has the peel away on it, which is kind of nice. Oh, they both have peel away to it. Okay. Oh, look, they fooled me. It's just in the plastic. Oh, they got me. They got me. I mean, it leaves a nice little mark on there, but look at that's cool. It's like snake skin. That's a really cool marketing idea. Kudos to you guys. All right, so our thermal pads are on. Now we're going to go ahead and put our thermal paste on. For this, we are using our Arctic Silver, and this is the MX4. I believe they have a newer one of the MX5. They both do the trick very, very well. In addition to that, we have our little plastic paintbrush. Highly recommend these. These are awesome. And I'll put links down to this down below if you guys are looking for it. And we're going to go ahead and do the magic P, but of course we're going to spread it out. I always like to paint it on. Oh man, thermal paste is always a mess. Okay, let's get it painted on. Okay guys, let's put this back together. So we are set and ready to go. So it's always good to connect the fan connector first, so you don't have to struggle with it. And then what I like to do, and everyone's got their own system, and maybe my system's wrong, is I like to go ahead and line this up the best I can before I go ahead and turn it over. So I just lay that down and then hover this over top until you can see exactly where those screw holes should be, so that you're not smudging your thermal paste around. There we go, all lined up. Now we'll take our screws. Now don't tighten them super hardcore, and you always want to do a cross pattern, because we're going to go back and make sure they're entirely tightened at the end. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and back and tighten them down all the way. All right, our Gigabyte is done and ready to roll, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about our build. So let's go ahead and go through the build parts that we're going to use for today. And I'm going to do my best, guys, to put all of these parts down below in the description if you guys are interested in any of them. So we have our 1060s. We have 7 of those here. And let's talk about our motherboard first. So I have fallen in love with the MSI Z170A, especially the M7. So these are harder to come by. They do have them on Newegg. You can get them refurbished, and I'll put a link down below to those. I really love these boards, and here's why. Because they support 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total GPUs. In addition to that, they have the power and reset button right on here. And I've actually featured this motherboard in a previous build. So we're using a, I think it's like a $14 or $15 Thermaltake heatsink. It does the trick, it's awesome. And I went ahead and bought up a number of, these are the 𝐓𝐨𝐴 1150 for the sockets, and these are the i3 6100Ts. They're perfect. They're old enough that they're cheap, and they do exactly the trick as to what we're looking for with a lot of these older boards, and I'm very happy with that. And then we have 8 gigs of memory. You don't even need 8, you can get by with 4, but I did have a stick of 8 gigs sitting around. To power this rig, we're going to use a 750 watt power supply with one of the older style smaller breakout boards. In addition to that, we're going to use an 𝐓𝐴𝐸 ATX 750 watt power supply. Now, we have 750 plus 750, that's giving us 1500 watts. In addition, I'm sorry, 1500, yeah, 1500 watts. And then in addition to that, if you do 80% of that, that's gonna take us down to 1200 watts. We're not gonna use 1200 watts between here, because if you think about it, let's round up, even though we're gonna use less. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each of these, let's say 100 to round up. There's no way we're even using 100 watts here, but that's gonna go ahead and put us in a great place, you know, of 700 watts. So we're well below the 1200, but I always like to use 2 power supplies. I love, just the way I love doing my builds, an ATX and a server power supply. It just works, it makes things so much easier. So we're gonna go ahead and split the load between those today. Not entirely necessary, but you gotta stick to the 80-20 rule. Our case for today, we are using the 𝐓𝐴𝐸. This is the dredge build. These things are ridiculous. Look at these fans, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 total fans. So in order to get all these fans to work with our motherboard, we do have these guys, which are awesome. These are fan splitters. These are 1 to 5 fan splitters. These, and look, they even come with double-sided tape on the bottom. So you just peel the tape, stick it on to a good place on the frame there, and that works nicely. Power supply here, or power switch as well. We only need this just in case. We always go ahead and configure the BIOS to start with AC power on. And then for our GPU risers that we are using today, we are using the 𝐓𝐴𝐸 GPU risers. Look at that, it's so cool with the orange there. So special thanks to GPU, for the GPU risers from 𝐓𝐴𝐸. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total GPU risers there from 𝐓𝐴𝐸. So special thanks to them for supplying the GPU risers as well as the case frame. And these are the Arctic P12 fans as well, if you guys were curious as to what we're using for cooling. We have our iFixit kit as well off to the left here, ready to go. And man, this is a recent purchase. I don't know if you guys are as anal as I am, but I actually saw Red Fox Crypto had something similar to this when I was at his place, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. So I picked up one of these, took a night and organized all my screws, and now I'll never go back. Okay, so that is our build for today, guys. Finally, we do have our power cables. We have our PCI 6+2. And then we also have a GPUrisers.com splitters. That'll be the 8-pin, and then to the 6+2 on the end as well. But these are so small that they just use a 6-pin, which is awesome. We're not using this guy in the back. That's a 570 there. Hello, Mr. DJ Mines. You guys ever check this guy out? Go check out his channel. He is the next Red Panda Mining, so watch out. Anyways, we need a bigger workbench, I swear. I will be back in just a few minutes. We're gonna build this entire thing, and then we'll give a tour of our rig. Okay guys, I wanna give you guys a quick update and show you guys the rig before I packed it full of PCI cables and also GPUs, because I really do think that giving you guys a view at this point in time is the most valuable for you guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at our rig. So motherboard is in. We have our ATX power supply in. You'll notice one of the fans is missing. So the Arctic P12s, not specific to that fan, but we're missing one here because it doesn't fit in if you're using an ATX power supply. So that slot is removed. So that's one less fan that we do have to go ahead and power. On the right-hand side here, I like to go ahead and use the screw hole. So I unscrew the one screw coming out of the power supply here for the little fan, and then I rescrew it through here, keeps it in there nice and secure and works well. So motherboard is in. Now a little bit of a mess here, but let's go ahead and review it. So we do have our, this is our Kingston solid state drive is in place there. Now take a look here. This is where I think it's most valuable for you guys with this case, our fan controllers. Oh, I love these fan splitters. They work so well. They're 1 to 5. They have the double-sided tape on the back. So I have one here, one here, and one right over there. And as you guys can see, look at it. This one's full, so we have 4 connected here and this guy, and then these 4 connected to this one with 1 slot available, and then these 3 connected down to here. Now the nice thing is about, as I said, I love the 𝐓𝐸 motherboard, is it has 3 additional slots for fans, including a 4th slot then of course for your CPU heatsink, which is awesome. So other than that, our 24 pin connected, good to go. Our SATA cable, good to go. And then of course, excuse me, our CPU cable in the front is all set and ready to go. Other than that, that's it. That's the case, guys. Nothing too crazy, but I love zip ties. I actually buy a container of these guys here. 650 of these nylon zip ties. They have all different sizes in here, and I love using them just to kind of get the cables together. I don't like leaving them too open, so as you can see here, zip tied there. Look at this here, nice little zip tie here, just like keeping them all together and nice and neat. So what's next? Next is we're going to go ahead and put in our GPUs. Now, I want to put the bigger ones in the middle, and the reason I'm going to go that route is because these smaller guys don't have as good of cooling with the single fan on them. So I'm going to put them on the inside, or on the outside, I'm sorry, like over here, because of the fact that these fans here on the side suck out. These fans here blow out that way too, and then these actually blow the air across. So I want to put the units that are most likely run warmer, and they do, absolutely. From my past experience, they definitely run warmer. I'm going to put those on the outside and on the outside. We have 7 total. Now this case is designed and marketed as 8 to 10. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like with 7 here in just a second. And these are small 1060s. There's no way you're fitting 10 like 3090s, 3080s. Not a chance, not a chance. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and get our GPUs installed in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, guys, here we have it. Here is our 7 GPU 1060 rig. Check it out. So I did the smaller minis on the right side, smaller minis on the left side, and then look at that, we have our 𝐕𝐢𝐝𝐿, our Gigabyte, and our ASUS right in the middle here. So it worked out really well. We did end up, we have our splitters here, our GPU riser splitters all through. And I did end up doing 4 GPUs on our 750 watt HP power supply. And then I did 1, 2, 3 on the ATX power supply, which is also powering our motherboard. So it worked out really well. These, you can see the yellow and black cables down there. Those are wiring down to our breakout board down between there. Let's see if I can give you a better shot. There you go. There you go. Right back in there. And everything turned out well. Now, give you guys a heads up. You can see, look how close this is here, which actually worked out well, because the heat that's going to come off of this card is literally going to get pulled off, pushed out this way, and then even the back side pushed out that way. And then this card here, same thing. So that's going to help out with our airflow, which ideally I think is going to be the best. Now, some issues I ran into. I have powered this rig up quite a few times, and I ran into a few problems, and we troubleshooted and addressed it. So on this GPU here, it was not showing up. So my first thing that I always like to do is I replace the GPU riser. So we did that. So you can see we have one over here. And then I did replace our Y splitter. I did both of those. Bam, good to go. That came up no problem. Awesome. Our Gigabyte though, the one that we replaced the thermal pads on and paste and cleaned it, I had an issue there. It was coming up as GA106 within HiveOS. I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? So I did the same thing. I replaced the GPU riser. I replaced my Y splitter. Same thing, same problem. Finally, I replaced my PCI adapter card. Right here, this one's actually bad. Once I replaced that out, bam, we were good to go, and they all came out nicely. So we do have everything running into just a surge protector, all for testing purposes only. We will not run this full time. We have our Ethernet cable in. We have it wiring back here and going right into our kilowatt voltage meter. So let's go ahead and power this up. So in this combination, you always power up the server power supply first. You can see some of the GPU risers are lit. By the way, I don't know that I've ever noticed the LED pattern they do with like the going up and down. That's so badass. I've never noticed that, honestly, but it looks so cool. I don't know if that's a new revision of these or what. Anyways, we'll come down here and we'll power on our ATX power supply, and bam, there we go. We can see we have all of our red indicator lights on our PCI adapter cards, letting us know we have a good connection with the motherboard. And now we're off to the races. Oh yeah. Okay, so all of our fans are spinning. We can see we have some there. The outside here, looking good. Across the back, looking good. And then this whole side here, whoo, feel that, awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some overclock settings into 𝐓𝐸, and then we'll check back in a moment and talk about the total hash rate as well as the total watts at the wall, and we'll go from there. Alrighty guys, it's been a longer night, and I'll explain why in just a moment, and you'll totally understand. But we are hashing away on Ethereum here. All of our cards doing work, which is awesome. Let's take a look at our watts. Our rig is, what we got here, 800, 20, 30, bouncing all over the place, pretty good amount. 850, about 850 average, right? About 850. We'll say 850 is our average here. Now, looking at our hash rate, we could take a look at our hash rate here. At all of our cards going to town, just over 20. Now, we could definitely get better on our hash rate. We could really dive into this and tweak it, but I've been dealing with for the last hour, 𝐓𝐸 is doing maintenance right now, and it has been a nightmare trying to overclock a rig that constantly your configurations don't apply. So take these with a grain of salt. Our goal is just over 20. That's definitely where we should be. You know, over 20 mega hash. If you fine tune these cards, puts you in a really good spot, which is what you want. So that puts us at about 145 mega hash on this rig here at 850 watts, which is great. You know, looking good. I mean, these are several years old. I mean, these things are over 5-year-old GPUs, 1066 gig cards. But I mean, I got them. They're still profitable. I'm hashing away with them, which is great. But I think that's gonna do it for today, guys. That's it. We're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. I'm super happy with the way this turned out. Our goal was to get the 1060s on their own rig in order to get them stable, and we have absolutely accomplished that. Well, thank you guys very much for joining me. I'm gonna put links down to everything I can down below in the description. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Take care.